Hello, YouTubers, and welcome back to another episode of the Grandstand here on the Ohio Patriot Education Network YouTube channel. I'm, as always, your host, AR the Ohio Patriot. And for today's episode, I'm gonna admit my faults. Something a lot of people don't do is what it is. Sometimes I'm wrong about things, and people call me out on it, and I'm willing to admit that honestly. Specifically in this case, there was a video I saw recently where it was actor Kevin Hart who apparently he was discussing some stuff about basically ghettos in America, specifically black ghettos in America, and how it's almost like designed to keep people poor is what it is, where you'll have, as he pointed out, it was basically have a check cashing place on some street or whatever it is there, and like a little mini, I'm trying to think what that's even called now, like a bunch of storefronts. I don't know exactly what the terminology for it would be. I was going to say strip mall, but that's not what it is. But yeah, she'll have like a check cashing place here, and there's like a liquor store right there, and then something else the other side, and something else the other side, something else the other side, et cetera, et cetera. And what he was saying basically is it was a way to not allow black Americans to be able to get ahead because they can't actually get credit and won't have like, a credit score, have like a way to build credit is what it is there with bank accounts and things like that is what it is. And so it's basically to keep them into a cash society is what it is. But he never points out but who's doing it, obviously, which is the Democrat Party in most cases. And the thing is, like, as I pointed out on Discord the other day, I was like, yeah, why isn't these people like so many Hollywood celebrities, why don't these people put their money where their mouth is and stuff like that? I didn't bother looking into it further than that. If Kevin Hart ever did invest back in comedies or whatever the case be, which apparently I guess he did, honestly. And I will give him, props for that one. Now, granted, that being said, from the articles that were pointed out to me in the last couple hours here, it appears to be where he only invested like $25,000 in like one of these places, and it's like you're talking about a dude who's made like millions upon millions of dollars in Hollywood franchise films and stuff like that, dude, and yet he's gonna give away like 25 grand to a random like grant or something. So it's like bare minimum kind of thing is what it is, dude. So, now granted, that was just one thing. He did some other stuff too. I guess he has some kind of foundation, whatever the case be there, where he does help people out. That's more money than that. But, good for him is what it is, dude. Like, he's one of the few people actually that do stuff is what it is out of Hollywood, which unfortunately is not many. Most of these fucking sick pieces of shit in Hollywood will sit there and, be in this fucked up club where they will basically, more or less just like back each other so that they're not all taken down for raping kids is what it is, dude. And that's the unfortunate situation in our society right now, is you have so many of these assholes, A-list, B-list, C-list, etc. stars there in Hollywood that are either child molesters themselves or they're enabling the ones who are is what it is. And, then you have people that will sit there and, go off on tangents in Hollywood celebs, etc., bitch and moan about certain things here that they could actually fix with their own financial wealth is what it is. But yet, in many cases, they don't do that stuff. Now, granted, it seems like Kevin Hart might be the exception here is what it is, which is good, obviously, on his part. But that being said, again, that's like one out of, how many? One out of dozens, one out of hundreds, one out of thousands for that matter. So, meanwhile, on the flip side of things, you got pieces of shit like Matt Damon, who will sit there and make most of his entire fortune off of fucking 2A. Those Jason Bourne movies specifically were a big one of them. And other ones similar to that, where he used a bunch of guns and stuff like that. But then he'll come out and be all anti-gunner and like try to push for gun control and stuff like that. Same with Matthew McConaughey for that matter. You got McConaughey doing various TV shows and movies over the years where he did a whole bunch of firearm stuff and those things. And yet then he'll come out and push for red flag laws or universal background checks or something. So the hypocrisy is just bullshit entirely, dude. But yeah, like I said, I'm willing to admit where my faults are at right there. And unfortunately, sometimes I don't look into stuff because, again, you got to think about when I'm posting some of this shit, dude. It's like 3, 4, 5 a.m. Like, I'm not going to sit there and spend, fucking 45 minutes to go look for some shit or whatever the case be and confirm one way or another or stuff like that. I'm just like, no, this fucking thing pissed me off. Like, here it is kind of thing is what it is, man. So, and that particular Kevin Hart video, the little YouTube short there did actually, because the way he was trying to do it was like basically broad brush and say, oh, it's all fucking, white Americans fucking problem that this exists kind of thing is what it is there. And it's like, it's not, dude. That's the problem, though. And again, like, it's not like Hollywood hasn't pushed racial division for decades now, is what it is, man. You know? It's a predictive programming model like it always has been, man. Same thing with everything else for that matter. Where they'll, continue to push and push and push and push and push and stuff like that. And even worse, than you got the fucking mainstream media involved in this shit, where they'll just be like, oh, here's this thing happening today, or whatever the case be. It's like the Grandstand just did, what was it, a half hour ago or so? About Donnie Smith here in Ohio. Where you'll have local media not even fucking admit the races involved in this situation, where it's just like, oh, it's 3 teens and random guy. It's like, no, it was 3 black teens killing a random white guy, dude. And that's the problem right now. And it's this and it's not like this is just a fucking isolated incident for that matter, for God's sakes, man. Like, this is going on all the fucking time in this country anymore. It's why you literally can go to Twitter, X, any of these social media sites like that, dude. Reddit's another one of them. Fucking TikTok's another one of them, etc., etc. And you can just look up fighting and shit like that. And it's like almost always just like attacks on white people and stuff like that by minorities. Or God forbid, you go into a Google search for black couples, and then you do a Google search for white couples. And what do you have in the white couples one? It's a bunch of mixed race couples. Like, what the fuck is that, Google? What the fuck is that bullshit algorithm crap, dude? It's disgusting is what it is, man. And again, it's fucking... It's forcing diverse bullshit where it doesn't need to be forced is what it is, man. And that's the biggest problem right now with our country currently, I believe, honestly. And then you got these people fucking invading our nation every single day is what it seems like. Where it's, them fucking... You got dickhead Biden, literal fucking cheater in the White House, opening up our border for 3 fucking years now. Where you got Democrats like fucking Jayapol literally admitting on the fucking... on camera to like CNN, MSNBC, etc. there, that their entire fucking end game is to basically have a new Democrat voter bloc is what it is. And then you wonder why people get pissed off, dude. You wonder why people are just fucking angry is what it is. So, yeah. And what's even more interesting, actually, is you look back at Trump's administration, what did he do? He actually made opportunity zones in this country specifically for black Americans to get ahead in life is what it is, dude, which is kind of bullshit, honestly, because of the fact that he should have done it for everybody is what it is, dude. It shouldn't matter if you're black, white, brown, yellow, whatever the fuck the case be is. It should be for anybody to go out there and make a small business and make a better life for themselves is what it is. It shouldn't be based on race, period. Like, that's the problem right now, is you have, and it's the same thing with affirmative action for that matter for, fucking 30, 40 years of my life now almost, where you have all this bullshit going on since I was basically born. And you have all these people that get way ahead in life, not on their fucking merit, but on the color of their skin. And then meanwhile, like, people like me, we have to fucking struggle our asses off just to get anywhere in life. And yet we're told, oh, you got white privilege, bro. Fuck off. Like, it's just such bullshit entirely. And I'm so fucking sick and tired of it, is what it really is. The thing is, though, and this is the thing, right? Like, most people won't admit that they're prejudiced against anybody, dude. I'll fucking freely admit that shit. I don't give a fuck, man, anymore. Honestly, I don't. And the whole point is like, we have gone so far in this country right now, dude. And as I've said on this channel many, many times, we are literally days to weeks to maybe a few months down the road of a fucking civil war popping off in this country, dude. By the time June, July of 2024 comes around, like roughly 6-7 months from now, if we are not in an active, hot civil war, I would be fucking surprised, dude. I would be legitimately shocked at that point if there's not some kind of riot or something else that kicks off a civil war in this country. And at that point, you know what's going to happen? There's going to be fucking all kinds of shit going on. There's going to be racial wars. There's going to be tribal warfare. There's going to be all kinds of shit going on during that time period. Hell, there is unconfirmed reports right now. I was watching something on X last night of this woman who was talking about her supposed husband that owns a gun shop. And there's some like supposed BS ATF ruling now, or whatever the case be, where they're allowing illegals to buy guns now, as of a couple of days ago, which I don't know if that's true or not. Honestly, I still haven't gotten confirmed reports of that one or not. But if it is happening, it's happening in places like California, New York, etc., that are allowing these DACA illegal aliens in our country to now join police forces to be the jackbooted thugs that are going to come confiscate our shit in the future. Here's what it is. Of all Americans across the fucking spectrum, dude. Race, color, creed, all that stuff like that. So people wonder why I'm pissed off. It's because of shit like that, dude. Because I'm like sitting here like, what the fuck, man? Like, how are you going to let somebody who is illegally in this country, has no legal right to be here in the first fucking place, who does not give two goddamn shits about the U.S. Constitution, about any people's rights of American citizens in this nation, how the hell are you going to let them be a police officer here to be a potential confiscator in the future of people's firearms? It just boggles the mind, honestly. It really does, dude. So, but yeah, the big difference is that with me being able to admit my fucking faults is what it is, man. Like, I can sit here and say that shit, honestly. And I can still have a conversation with people of other races is what it is, man. So, you know, and I consider people like Leo, people like Van Drake friends, because they're good guys, honestly. The whole entire point I'm trying to make, though, with the shit I talked about the other day there on the Discord, is it specifically had to do with so many of these people in Hollywood that will sit there and say some bullshit here and there and not actually back it up. Which in that particular case with Kevin Hart, I guess he actually was backing it up. And good for him for doing so. Like, at least he's willing to sit there and put his money where his mouth is. Unfortunately, so many others are not, dude. Because that's the thing, right? Like, if people like Matt Damon really gave a shit about, like, their whole, like, narrative of, like, pushing anti-gun crap, whatever the case be, dude, they would be creating an organization that funds fucking, you know, various BS anti-gun laws then. Or there would be a bunch of articles of them, like, funding Mamas Demand Action or Giffords or something like that is what it would be, man. Or some of their Bloomberg subsidiaries, for that matter. But as far as I'm aware, there's none of that out there. No, it's just them sitting there profiting off the Second Amendment while shit-talking it is what it is. Or trying to disarm American citizens is what it is. Or people like people even worse than that, people like Alyssa Milano specifically is what it is there, dude. Where you got Alyssa Milano, who has been pushing for American disarmament for decades now. And yet, meanwhile, she'll admit there a few years ago at one of the White House summits, whatever the hell it was, I forget exactly who it was for. I want to say she was talking to maybe Fred Gutenberg and some other idiots from Parkland and stuff like that. And she was basically freely admitting that you have, that she owns multiple firearms for her own protection is what it is there, man. Yet, meanwhile, wants to take away my right to own guns, or your right to own guns, or anybody else's right to own guns is what it is. So, yeah, it's a bunch of shit entirely, dude. And that's the thing, though, right? Like, as the head of a 2A organization that actually fights people's rights here is what it is in Ohio, dude. We've actually been trying to get rights restoration laws on the books for years now. The problem is the fucking people in power right now aren't going to do that shit. Hell, I was calling up state lawmakers fucking 2.5 years ago when constitutional carry was first on the table back in 2021. And I was telling them then when I first seen the legislation that they were trying to pass forward, I'm like, dude, you have different paperwork in here that people can eventually like apply to get their rights restored. It's like, no, that should be an automatic rights restoration across the board. If they're not a violent felon, if they're not a violent criminal, they should not have their fucking rights taken away from them still. If they're going to be out and about functioning in our society, you're going to be able to give them back their right to vote and stuff like that. They should be able to have their two rights back for that matter. It doesn't matter what race, color, or creed they are. But that's the entire problem right now, is you have people that are not willing to actually do that stuff by default. Or even worse, you got piece of shit Democrats like Roy Cooper in the fucking positions of power right now. Still in North Carolina there, which they're having a governor's race next year, thank God, because Roy's out permanently is what it is there. I'm pretty sure he has term limits hitting him now is what it is. And most likely you're going to have Mark Robinson, who's actually a pro-2A motherfucker, who is running for governor there, who we've already endorsed over a year ago at this point, dude. We said, I believe it was the end of last year, beginning of this year, one of the two. So it was almost a year ago or right around a year ago. Whenever Robinson first announces candidacy for North Carolina governor, I said then, I was like, network endorses Robinson for governor there in North Carolina. Because we know that Mr. Robinson is actually going to get stuff done. And be better for the Second Amendment is what it is, man. For those who don't know who Mark Robinson is, he's the big black dude who basically went around. I forget exactly what shooting it was that happened. Maybe it was after Parkland or something. Where it was, he was talking in front of, I forget if it was, I don't know if it was the General Assembly of North Carolina, or if it was just the, like a city council board or whatever it was there. I think it was city council, if I'm not mistaken. But he went on that like famous rant about like law-abiding citizens and all that stuff like that. And he's like, yeah, y'all are attacking law-abiding citizens all the time when all these massacres happen, but yet you never attack the criminals is what it is, man. You never deal with the criminal element. And he was right about that, honestly. And that's the problem right now, dude. And, you know, it's just like we've talked about many times on the channel before, honestly. It's these people that, you know, these Democrat hell pockets in this country run by idiotic morons from the Democrat Party who don't do a damn thing to actually fix the crime in their own cities, and yet want to bitch about state preemption laws and be like, oh, but we should be able to enact local gun laws here. First of all, jackass, it's not the fucking people who are legally carrying that are the problem. It's the fucking criminals that steal shit from other people or rob houses or rob cars or whatever it is, dude, and jack somebody's gun out of it or whatever it is there. Or hell, it's like people like here where I'm at, you know, like I said, over 2 years ago, day I was going to stay home and I decided to go hang out with my family that day instead. And while I was gone, two pieces of shit broke into the fucking house and stole one of my guns. Local cops still have yet to find that fucking gun over 2 years later now. Probably never going to see that gun again ever in my life. And it fucking pisses me off, dude. That's also why I've been calling on the General Assembly for the past couple of years now to pass legislation that would actually allow for people like myself, who are poor as fuck, to be able to petition the state if they don't find our firearm within X amount of time, then that we can just be like, okay, cool. If you ever do find the firearm, now it considers state property. Give us a fucking check for the worth of it then. We can go buy something new then is what it is, dude. Because that's what they need to be doing right now, honestly. Needs to be a reimbursement from the state is what it is then. It's like, yeah, if you can't find the shit within like a year or 2 years, whatever it is, dude, I should be able to apply for an ability to be able to get a fucking check from you, and I'll just be like, here's the fucking serial number of this gun. If it's ever found, like, now it becomes state property of the state of Ohio is what it is. Then you can do whatever the fuck you want with it then, dude. If you want to use it for, like, some kind of practice tool or whatever the case be, or if you just want to throw it inside of a fucking incinerator or whatever the fucking case be, I don't give a fuck anymore, dude. You know? Because that's the thing, like, unless, and I've been told before, honestly, unless that would be used as a murder weapon in the future, I'm never going to get an ability to actually get any financial recovery of that gun then. So, because it's only then when it actually becomes a potential murder weapon is when it becomes technically quote unquote state property, and then they'll just cut you a check then is what it is then. And it's like, that's bullshit, dude. It's like, no, it's been stolen for X amount of years now. Like, I should just be able to get a check now is what it is. So, it's like the same thing with Honda for that matter. Like, he had one of his guns stolen years ago. It's like the same thing there, man. he should be able to get the reimbursement money for that gun is what it is. So, anyway. But yeah, it's just a bunch of BS, dude, entirely. But anyway. Actually, I do remember a story from a while ago. People may remember Rapsy Nipsey Hussle. And there was actually a lot of talk. I don't know if this ever been confirmed or not, but there was a lot of talk after his death that he was actually targeted by the community he was trying to basically clean up, is what it was there. Because you had a bunch of gangs in that area that didn't want him cleaning the place up, is what it was. And he was like, no, I'm going to invest in this, my home area there of like whatever he grew up in there is what it was. And I forget if it was LA or where it was at exactly. But it was like some hood area there basically. And he's like, no, I'm going to invest in this place and make it better then. And he was actually working with the cops at the time, if I'm not mistaken, to take down some local gang leaders is what it was there. And I'm pretty sure that's what actually got him killed, is one of those people that basically put a hit on him is what it was then. And then he ended up being shot to death then on the one corner of, I forget where it was at exactly. But yeah, just crazy stuff, man, entirely. And that's just sad, man. And there's actually, it's interesting too when you look into that particular thing of like the black on black crime in our country right now, is how many of these guys that'll be making money off of like various like rap careers and stuff like that, and then they'll just do like a location drop or whatever where they're at, and like 10 minutes later you just have some dudes doing a drive-by on their ass and stuff. I've heard of at least I think 3 of those this year alone, if I'm not mistaken. Like, it's pretty wild shit, dude. So. And again, that's just a great reason not to drop your location out there to people, dude. To be like, oh yeah, I'm over here in this fucking parking lot shooting this random, TikTok video or whatever the case be, and then it's like bang, 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 like 5 minutes later or something. It's like, goddamn, dude. Fucking crazy shit, man. So, but yeah, like I said, I'm willing to admit my faults, man, when they happen. And I was wrong. I was wrong about Kevin Hart there, man. I thought he was just like most of Hollywood where he didn't give a shit, honestly, dude. But no, I was wrong. He actually invested back into some communities there, is what it was. And good on him for doing that, man. And hopefully those communities get better because of that, honestly. And you can have more success stories come out of these places and stuff. But unfortunately, in many cases, you don't, is what it is. Because in a lot of cases, it kind of goes back to that whole crabs in a barrel, crabs in a bucket mentality, we're going to call it there. They're interchangeable terminologies is what it is there, but it's the same thing, honestly. And it's basically, it goes back to this weird thing in nature where if you throw a bunch of crabs into a barrel or bucket, you'll have one at the top try to escape out, and you'll have a bunch of the other ones underneath it taking their little pincers and stuff like that and grabbing onto its legs and its body and stuff, like its shell and shit. And so instead of one of them being able to get out and then the next one being able to get out and so forth and so on, all the way down to like the last one in the bucket and stuff, or the last one in the barrel, what will happen is you'll have the first one trying to, crawl out and stuff like that. You'll have the other ones sort of latch onto it then in different places. And they'll drag that dude back down is what it is then. And that's exactly what we see in many of these, various low income areas in this country, unfortunately. Is you'll have one or two people try to get out is what it is there, man, and do better for themselves and potentially be coming back to do better for the rest of the community than as well in that one. But instead, you have the people drag them back down. So they either never get out, or in some cases they do get out and they come back for a visit or whatever the case be. And those people were like, well, what the fuck you done for me, bro? And it's like, well, what the fuck have you done for yourself, buddy? Kind of thing, And like, that's the problem too, as well. It's that kind of mindset of like, what has this person done for me, instead of like, what can I do for myself to help myself get out of the situation, instead of relying on somebody else to help me out, is what it is, dude. It's the whole, it goes back to that mentality, like pick yourself by your bootstraps kind of thing is what it is. Which, many, many generations of people have done that throughout this country and others for that matter. They were the working poor. They were the starving poor, basically, at that point. They had, it even goes back to like some of these terminologies, like the whole, don't have a pot to piss in, or piss poor, stuff like that, dude. Which those don't know the actual meanings behind those phrases. The don't have a pot to piss in. It used to be that you would have people. It was, I believe, white Appalachia areas, if I'm not mistaken, in this country, and a few others too, for that matter, where you would have people that would basically tan hides using urine. And unfortunately, many of those people were so poor back then, they did not have a quote unquote pot to piss in, so they couldn't collect a big pot of urine to do like a tanning at the same time as what it was. So they would literally have to stand over this hide and just take a piss at the fucking hide whenever they could go to the bathroom then. So, and then of course the piss poor thing was again that you were so poor that you had to literally use your own piss to do tanning of hides to then make money is what it was. So, yeah. So yeah, and that's the thing too, right? Like people, and that's what's even more fucked up with me, right? You have people that'll like sit there and bitch about like this thing or that thing, whatever the case be. Yet you have people, specifically in West Virginia area, there in the Appalachian areas, who are 4, 5, 6, 7 generations of poverty there, who have never been given a leg up, you know. And like I said, going back to the Trump Opportunity Zone thing, dude, like. He should have done that for everybody, dude. It shouldn't have just been for one race or another. It should have been for every single American across the board having that ability to do that kind of stuff. Because you know damn well you would have had a bunch of stuff going to the Appalachians, is what it is there, man. Down in West Virginia and the very lower part of Ohio and stuff like that, where it kind of exists as well for that matter. And, you know, other various areas as well for that matter. And you would have had investments into these states that would have made these states better, honestly, in the long run. Because you could have had a family create a small business, a general store, whatever the case be there, and been able to make a life for themselves and potentially create a generational wealth. Then is what it is. But no, you didn't do that. So, and like I said, for somebody like myself, man, where I'm like, you know, not even sure if we're going to be able to afford the fucking property taxes next year on this place. And I got my sister bitching in my ear every fucking day about like, oh, you know, if something happens and mom can't come home, we'll probably have to fucking sell the house and find you someplace else to live. I'm like, I'm not fucking leaving here. Fuck you. Like, that's what it comes out of being, man. Seriously. Like, I'm not leaving my fucking boyhood home, period, man. I'll figure some shit out. I'll fucking buy this place if I have to, somehow. So, anyway. Yeah, it's just a bunch of shit entirely, man. So, anyway. But yeah, it just pisses me off. And it's like, you know, and I think it's, again, it goes back to what I've said many times in this whole thing. You have people who, it's all these different, you know, globalist entities out there now that are trying to stop generational wealth from any race in this country nowadays, is what it is, dude. Where they're trying to fuck over all Americans. It's not just, you know, the whole Kevin Hart video of like, oh, you know, check cashing places and ghettos, basically. And then a bunch of dumb shit that they don't need to have there is what it is. That they waste their money on. Which I think I've talked about this before in at least one of these chats, which is like, okay, so, and this is something I heard here in the last year or so. The average black female in America has, I think it's like $10 or $15 to her name at any given time because she spends upwards of several $100s on weaves, wigs, and nail appointments every month. Like, what kind of dumb shit is that, man? Like, that's just stupid. And yeah, I understand some people, when they're born, their hair isn't the greatest looking or whatever the case be, but it's like, who gives a shit, dude? You shouldn't be spending hundreds of fucking dollars on, like, fake hair, basically. That in many cases isn't even, like, it's all nasty shit, basically, is what it is from overseas, man. I was actually watching something here recently where they were talking about how a lot of American weaves and wigs and stuff like that are made now, is what it is. And it's like random, like, Indonesian, like, sewer hair, basically, is what it is, dude, where it's all, like, hair and, like, drains and shit that they figure out how to, like, take out of there, wash through somehow or whatever the case be, like, restrand and stuff like that, and then just start, like, weaving it into, like, a wig or a weave or whatever the case be. So it's all this, like, nasty, like, gutter hair, basically, and it's like, that's gross, dude. Really fucking gross. Actually, another one I saw here recently, I forget exactly where it was at. I think it was Bangladesh or something, maybe, where they supposedly were having this. It was supposed to be like a river over there, whatever the case be. Which I bring that up specifically because that's where a lot of clothes are made now. It is what it is. And this particular area that's like a bridge that's supposed to have like a river underneath it, the entire river is now just plastic bottles and garbage. And yet this is where a lot of American manufacturing is done at for American clothing and stuff like that. And it's like, why, dude? It's fucking nuts. So, yeah, pretty wild shit for sure, honestly. But anyway. But like I said, going full circle back again, I'm willing to admit my faults, dude. I'm willing to admit, prejudice and stuff like that. That's the problem with a lot of people, though. They're not willing to admit that stuff is what it is. And that's what I like. Truthfully, if you look at everybody in this country, everybody's a little bit prejudiced, dude, one way or another. And if you're not, you're lying to yourself, is what it is. So, but anyway, that's the big thing. I really don't give a fuck anymore, is what it is, dude. Like me actually, what you call it means I think your opinion matters is what it is, honestly, dude, which in many cases I don't think people's opinion matters anymore. So, because opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one. Most people are one, is what it is. So, anyway, Jesus Christ, dude. Of course, go to pull up X, and what's the first thing I see? Another fucking black and white attack. It's like the first thing popping up my feed there, man. Yeah, then we got hashtag Trump smells bad is trending now. Jesus, man. Well, as far as I'm aware, he is over in Match Chat right now doing the whole, what is it, Week in Geek, whatever the hell they call it there. So I assume Cord will be back with us here in a couple hours is what it is for the Festivus 2023, which, by the way, I did find the Rand Paul article for the wasteful spending this year. And it's basically worse than we thought it was going to be, dude. Let me see if I can pull this up right now. I don't know, but we got Biden sniffing Trump and being like, "The right, you smell like shit." I mean, to be fair, how many times has Biden shit his pants in the last couple of years now, dude? Like, that dude legitimately shit his pants at the fucking Vatican while visiting the Pope, for God's sakes, man. And he wants to talk about Trump smelling bad, like fucking hell, man. So, Jesus. Yeah, then you got somebody doing AI BS of Marjorie Taylor Greene putting up a sign that says Trump smells bad, but not as bad as I do. Fucking people. Oh, apparently they're talking about Trump's body odor is what it is there. Okay, so apparently dude just has like some manly BO stink is what they're saying there. Jesus, imagine my shock, dude, that a fucking man smells like a man, for God's sakes. Like, fuck me, man. Yeah, Biden shit himself at least 4 times. Okay. Yeah, that sounds about right, honestly. Sounds about right. Sounds about right. Let's see. Jesus criminy, dude. This is just both sad and disgusting right here. I'll talk about this one for a minute here. From Legit TikTok says, breaking, a guy who said the October 7th attack was the greatest day of his life appears to be Rudy Martinez. Rudy is also an unhinged anti-white racist. He went viral in 2017 for writing an article about how much he hates white people and called for their death, called for the death and destruction of whiteness. Yeah, not surprising at all, dude. What a scumbag piece of shit, dude. And that's what I'm saying, right? Like, it's not like this shit is like new, man. Like that was what, like 6, almost 7 years ago now that happened there. And like I'm saying, man, these people have been calling, like, they've been like doing anti-racist shit in this country for like well over a decade at this point in history. But God forbid you call it out, man. So, dude, this should piss everybody off. Pro-Palestine terrorists defaced the iconic Lincoln statue in Union Square. Abraham Lincoln, the president who literally freed the fucking slaves. And these morons are all like, free Palestine on it. Go fuck yourselves and go over to Palestine, you assholes. Seriously. Oh, I'm not going to show that, obviously, but goddamn, fuck these cops, dude. Fucking pieces of shit, dude. Oh, okay. Never mind. My mistake. Didn't actually read the context on that one. So apparently, like, because the attack, the thing here was one of these cops like smacking this dog with like a bat or something. No, sorry, it was an axe. And apparently, what happened was you had these two crazy ass pit bulls that apparently had a shitty owner who didn't bother to actually do his job and keep them under control. They mauled a guy to death, and the paramedics, EMTs, firefighter guys were literally trying to stop the dogs from attacking them, is what it was. Like, Jesus Christ, dude. Sad situation. I'm not going to show the clip. What I will show is a still from it, is what it is here. There's a guy named Jack something or other, like Doherty or Dorothy or something. It's this little jackass right here, this little punk ass Gen Z kid who apparently was hanging out someplace recently, talking shit at people and stuff like that. Had an armed, or not, I don't think security guard was armed or not, but I know the security guard himself was actually like this big ass black dude who was probably like 6'7", 6'8", something like that. Because this kid knows, being the little pussy ass Gen Z coward he is, that he's going to try and talk shit at people. They're going to try and beat his ass. And instead of just taking the ass beating he deserves at that point, he's like, no, I'm going to have my security guy step in and take the beating for me, or like basically beat these people off me or whatever it is there. And yeah, he was basically talking shit at like some pier area there. And, you know, got the shit kicked out of him by some old man is what it was then. Security guard couldn't help him, was what it was there. Well, I should say he didn't get shit kicked out of him. He got rocked by the old man, and then the security guy like sort of like half-assed turned around and intervened is what it was then. But yeah, and I guarantee that this Jack kid probably did this shit before that without a security guard and got the shit kicked out of him is what it was, dude. And that's the problem with some of these punk-ass kids nowadays, what it is, dude. They want to sit there and go clout chasing. Doesn't matter what the race is, honestly, black, white, Latino, otherwise. But they want to sit there and chase clout for fame and fortune and be these influencers, which you're not even a fucking influencer, dude. You're just an idiot is what it is. Remember the first time I heard the term influencer, and I'm like, what the fuck is that? And then people are all like, oh, it's these people that like influence other people's behavior on the internet. And I'm just like, y'all fucking dumb, dude. Y'all fake ass celebrities is what it is. You're like fucking, at most, you would be basically like a Z-list celebrity is what it is. That has like a following of a couple 100,000, maybe a couple million people is what it is there. And you want to sit there and act like you're all famous and shit when most people don't know who the fuck you are to begin with. Don't even care who the fuck you are because you're just a little idiot is what it is. And in many cases, if the grid were to go down tomorrow, your ass would either be a ditch digger for shit pits or you'd be a fucking grave digger for the dead bodies that all had fucking massive heart attacks and shit, dude. And that would be your job for the rest of the fucking time then. You would be a nobody again after the fall, and you'd only be somebody then if you actually worked your way up through the processes and stuff like that and got an actual skill set to help out then. You provide nothing in life currently. You're just like these fucking OnlyFans hoes that'll sit there and one of the best takedowns I saw recently actually was that black dude on the whatever podcaster he was calling out these OnlyFans chicks, and the one girl's like, oh yeah, you're right, I'm good for nothing. He's like, no, you are good for something. You're a symbol of a decaying society. And he's right about that. And that's the problem right now. We are literally in the midst of a modern day Sodom and Gomorrah currently. The only thing missing is the archangels coming down from the heavens and razzing the fucking place to the goddamn ground, telling Lot and his family to get the fuck out and don't look back. And then his wife does, and then of course she, looks back and turns into a pillar of salt is what it is then. Actually, I was was reading something the other day where people were talking about how fucked up the Bible was or whatever the case be, and there's a variation of the Bible that actually shows like the story of Lot after the fact is what it is there with his daughters, because apparently what happened was there's an interesting factoid to that one if you don't know about the story of Lot and his family. So basically Lot was a guy who lived in, it was either Sodom or Gomorrah, I forget which one, but it was basically those cities is what it was there. And you had these degenerate people at the time who were basically, you know, raping everybody more or less is what it was. And they were like, okay, you know, like, who are we going to do now? Whatever the case, like, they're like, oh, you know, we want your, like, they basically went to Lot's house and were like, give us your daughters. He's like, no, take me, you know, like, basically, like, take me, rape me, essentially is what it was. Instead, and they were like, no, we want your daughters, dude. We want that innocence is what it was. And so you had all these people that were asking this for his kids or whatever the case be, and he's like, no, it's not going to happen, dude. And so basically what happened was you had an archangel intervene or something like that's what it was, came down supposedly and was like, you people back off kind of thing or whatever. And then that archangel told Lot and his wife and daughters to get the fuck out of, you know, that area is what it was, because they were going to harass Sodom and Gomorrah to the ground is what it was, and to not look back. And so they, you know, ran for the hills is what it was there. Unfortunately, the wife looked back and she saw the razzing in place then, and it turned her to a pillar of salt. After the fact, you had Lot and his two daughters who, at the time, they actually thought they were the last people on earth. The daughters did. And so what they ended up doing was they got their father drunk as fuck and proceeded to have incestual sex with him is what it was. Because they thought they were going to repopulate the earth is what it was there. And their go-to thing was, let's get dad drunk and then fuck him. So, yeah, pretty fucked up shit, dude. Pretty fucked up shit in general. But you have a lot of those kind of weird-ass stories like that in the Bible, and, you know, biblical history is what it is there. So, anyway. But, yeah, it wasn't always sunshine and rainbows, man. There was a lot of fucked up shit and fucked up incestual shit and all kinds of raping and pillaging and plundering and everything else like that. So, you know. Actually, that was the one thing, too, by the way, if you go back into, like, history of, like, you know, 10,000, 12,000, whatever it was there, where you had Genghis Khan and the Mongol horde and stuff like that existing. Genghis Khan's tribe of Mongol horde people, the empire that he had and was running and stuff like that, man, that dude and the people that followed him were the only threat that could have ever taken out Islam in this country, or any other country for that matter, at that time in history. Unfortunately, they never came to it. It never came to pass that they, you know, took out the threat of Islam at the time. And so what you had later on then was you had the Crusades, that the, you know, English Crusaders claim that they won, but in reality, what really happened there was you had them riding up on fucking horseback, getting within like 100 yards or whatever it was, seeing they had this giant fucking horde of people coming at them that were like outnumbering them about 10, 20 to 1, whatever it was at the time. And we're like, oh shit, fucking literally turned the horse around and just galloped the other fucking way is what it was, dude. Came back to England and we're like, yay, we won. So, yeah, they didn't win shit, man. And that's why whenever you see like every pretty much modern day terrorist attack, it's just the modern day Crusades. Because they never really ended. They claim that they ended back in the 12th/13th century. That's not the truth at all, man. They didn't have the numbers to take out Islam back then. So it just continued to flourish and flourish and flourish and flourish and flourish. And now you basically just see the fallout of that every single year is what it is in these different European nations now that are being invaded, as well as the United States of America, for that matter, where you see terrorist attack here is what it is, where you have various mosques across this country have, you know, hundreds of thousands of both failed and successful terrorist attacks tied to them is what it is. And yet these people aren't being permanently exiled from this country's soil. Like, it just blows my mind, dude, honestly, on that one. Like, why are they not being permanently exiled from our soil just based on that shit alone, dude? It's like, you are part of a thing that is clearly not able to mesh with this melting pot that is America. Get the fuck out and don't come back, man. Like, seriously. Like, if you're not going to melt, then leave, you know? And if you're not going to leave peacefully, then we'll make you leave non-peacefully is what it is. And I'll leave it at that, really. So, anyway. But yeah. So, needless to say, it's a bunch of shit all the way around. But, I'm going to point something out that was posted a few minutes back, is what it was, which is Daniel saying he blames Night Strike for the world going to shit because, obviously, as many people have said, Night Strike is God, which is blasphemy, obviously, because he's not really God, obviously. We all know that, but it's basically making a joke at his expense is what it is there. No, Night Strike's a good dude, though. He and I have had our own issues over the past couple of years, is what it is. Basically, the fallout from Guns and Barbecue and all those dudes like that is what it is, but yeah, it is what it is, man. I'll still talk to the man on occasion if he's on one of the panels and stuff like that. I'll have a conversation with him and stuff. So anyway, fuck was I saying then? I don't even remember now. Oh yeah, that's right. About 2 hours from now, give or take, or not 2 hours, about an hour and a half from now, give or take. We'll be back again for Festivus 2023. Hopefully, I'll have some panelists at the time. I sent some links out to people. Sent links out to Corey, Honda, Shot Red, Leo, Van Drake, and a couple others too. Hopefully somebody will join me for this whole thing in the next hour and a half or so. Who knows? I don't know if Van Drake will come or not. I know he's got the baby now, so it might be an issue with him not being able to jump on panels and stuff because of the kid, which makes sense. You got your little baby there, and that kid's going to be, wanting to sleep or whatever the case be. Obviously, they're going to sleep out a couple hours here, a couple hours there, and then it's going to be them wide awake and whining and crying, needing to be fed, need to be changed, all that stuff like that is what it is. So I know that's why he hasn't been around for a while now, is because, taking care of the new baby and stuff makes sense. Being a good father to that kid, good for him. Unfortunately, far too few actually do step up in this country anymore and be decent fathers like that. So I do commend Van Drake for, being one of those people that does his job as a parent is what it is. So anyway, but that being said, we'll see who shows up though is what it is. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I will see you all later for Festivus 2023. Even if I'm alone, I'll do another panel alone. Doesn't matter. Nobody shows up, I'll just be here alone then. So, but yeah, we'll be back in about an hour and 20 minutes or so, give or take. Until later, I will see you guys in the next one. Have a good one, y'all, and happy Festivus, everybody. Later.